The following announcement has been paid for by the new Howell order.
The team has given us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues. We'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So I was sitting back, man, thinking about this season, thinking about the 4 years of the Rivera era, thinking about the years that preceded it. And, watching the Eagles game last night, they're 9-1. The Super Friends, we have a group text that we, chop it up in. And, Brunson, he's talking a little smack, but not much, right? And I've already said this numerous times. If my team is any good, like 9-1 good, best in the league good, I'd be unbearable, okay? And Law was pretty much saying, bro, and I've told Brunson this, a lot of times, that he's too relaxed about how, but what I think the reason that we've come up with, the reason why he's not as animated, he was way more animated last year. I think deep down inside, he knows that this team isn't as good as last year's team. He's not going to admit it, but they've gotten by in some games this year that last year, they weren't even close to losing most of their games last year. They were smoking teams. They were up big. And again, the biggest complaint I had, I was nitpicking, was y'all not blowing teams out at the end of games. Like, y'all up big and y'all ain't got the killer instinct to put your foot on their necks, crush their windpipe. That's the shit I was talking about last year. But they were killing teams in the first half. They'd be up 24-0, right? Suffocating teams. That's not the case this year. They're getting by now. They're winning. I've said this already. They've built up this callus and they find ways to win, and that's what good teams do. But I sort of feel like, and we were saying this and we were messing with him about the reason he's not as demonstrative this year is because I don't think he believes that they're as good as they were last year. But that's nor here nor there. I only brought him up, or the Eagles for that matter, up because they're so good. Dallas is a really good team. And you just look at us. We've just been stuck in mediocrity for the last 2.5 decades. To either mediocrity to just flat out bad. We've been awful. This year, we've sucked. When we're either really competitive or we're just awful. And there's no really in between, it seems like, with this team. And that's the shit that just bothers me, is that you don't know what you're getting from week to week with this team. And they're Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. One week they look ultra competitive. We're going toe-to-toe with those same Eagles. Probably should have beaten them. The funny thing is, I was going to say, ask any Eagles fan, and they may or may not be able to tell you. Ask them what their largest deficit of the season has been and who it's come against. Maybe they know, maybe they don't know. I mean, we didn't beat them, so it doesn't matter, but it was us. Anyway, so we're capable, but we're also capable of losing to the winless Bears at home by 20, down 27-3 at half. We're also capable of losing, getting swept by the Giants, only scoring 7 points over in the Meadowlands, and then allowing them to come here with Tommy DeVito at quarterback and giving up 31 points and turning it over 6 times. So we're also capable of that as well. Being a fan of this team over time has turned into a chore. It's not even enjoyable sometimes, which that's what being a fan is all about, having fun. It's an escape from reality. That's what sports is supposed to be, entertainment. But we invest so much into being a fan. Some of us spend money, others spend time and money. Some just spend and devote tons of time. We all devote energy, whether you want to admit it or not. If you're investing time, then you're investing energy. And when you invest time and energy, it leads to expectations. And when those expectations aren't met, it leads to anger, frustration, and or disappointment. We've experienced the entire gamut of emotions, probably except for jubilation with this team. And when we do get jubilation, it's on a much smaller scale, like beating the Eagles last year or beating the undefeated Steelers in 2020, right? It's something like that, where we beat a team that nobody thinks we're capable of beating. And again, you're getting your rocks off. You're getting excited because nobody thought you were good enough to beat a team. And you did. Instead of being good enough to compete with that team and beating them, you didn't stand a chance, and somehow you got it done. I came up with the acronym HARD for being a fan of this organization. It's hard being a fan of the Washington Commanders, or just the Washington organization, whatever the hell our name is going to be moving forward. You know, we've been through 3 different names in 4 years here now. So hell, if I know what we're going to be called next year. It's just hard. Whatever the hell we're called, it's hard being a fan of them. HARD stands for heartache, agony. You have to be resilient. If you're still here, you're resilient because they've beaten the shit out of us as a fan base. Right? Almost to the point where you wonder, do they even give a shit about us? Because we keep coming back for more of the same bullshit. So you got to be resilient, okay? Because if you're not, you already left a long time ago. A long time ago, okay? And I know some people who just got back when Dan sold the team in July. They just got back. They weren't resilient enough. But I can't even be mad because before they left, they were very resilient. There's only so much that some people can take. I'll never chastise a fan for saying, I've had enough. I'll return when I think the coast is clear. But right now, it's just too much for me. Anytime somebody says, hey, Louie T, love you, love your content, man, appreciate what you do, but I'll see you next year, I'm not mad at them. Their cup has overrunneth. They got nothing left to give. When I talk about devoting time and energy, that all takes emotional energy, right? That shit is tough. It's tough. You know how hard it is to get excited all week long, Monday all the way to Sunday at 1:00 p.m. You've built up all of this excitement thinking, we're going to win this week. And then by about 2:25, your excitement and hope has turned to despair and disappointment and outrage as you realize this shit is not going the way that I thought it was going to go. And what the hell am I watching right now? That was the Bears game for me, right? By the time I got to halftime, I said, what the F am I watching right now? What the have they just subjected me to? And then the D stands for determination because, again, if you're here, you're determined to see this thing through. You're determined to see this team end up on the other side of this thing that we've been climbing through, it feels like, for ages. You're determined to get to the other side of the mountain, to the mountaintop. And when we get there, I've told you this before, when we get there, it's going to be so enjoyable. It's going to feel like nirvana, like eternal bliss, because of all the heartache, the pain, the strife, the agony that we've gone through. It's going to make it that much sweeter when we finally are good. And we can say, hey, there's no other shoe that's going to drop. Nobody's coming to tell us that you're really not as good as you think you are. When we start a season off 7-2 or 8-1, and we look around and we say, this is legit. We're actually good this time. When we go win a playoff game or two and we end up in the NFC Championship game, and we can't believe it because we haven't been here ever, feels like. For some of you, ever. is going to make it that much sweeter. And you're determined to get there, to hang in there until that actually happens. God bless us all. Because it's hard being a fan of this team. It is. Plenty of heartache, tons of agony. You have to be resilient. And damn it, you got to be determined if you're still here. Because it's hard. I saw a study. I had this one in my back pocket for a while. Something told me one of these days it'd be beneficial. You know, I never really saw me using it because I'm like, one, I don't know the company that did the study. Two, whatever. Like, this shit doesn't really move the needle for me. You know. Three, I mean, this kind of information is cool, but they're using numbers that I don't necessarily believe in. And I told you, you can take data, you can take numbers and make them speak to whatever it is you want them to speak to. Numbers don't lie. People do. But you can take numbers and make them say what you want them to say. This study, I feel like, does that. But I need to feel good right now. So I pulled it out of my back pocket. So I wanted to show you guys something, right? So there was a study that was done, a survey that was done, I think it was like 3 years ago, and the results were released last year. Okay, so I'll read to you, some of the study here, and we can go through it just quickly. Again, I don't want to spend a bunch of time on this, but sometimes you just want a reason to smile, right? Kind of goes with the theme of tonight's show, at least. It's been a bumpy road for Washington Commanders this past year, from congressional investigations to lawsuits to reports of the team being sold. However, according to a new survey, fans are sticking by their team. Now, again, I'm going to debunk some of this, okay? So don't get too carried away with it. However, according to a report from Oddspedia, Commanders fans are the most devoted of all the NFL teams. That's not what we've been told, by the way. And look, if we're being honest with one another, there was a time when this was absolutely true. You couldn't separate Washington fans from this organization. You just couldn't do it. You know, there were a lot of years where we weren't any good, but they still showed up. There was still a waiting list for season tickets. There was still pride amongst the fan base. Some of that you can never get back because of the name. It will never be Redskins again, so there will never be that level of passion for this team like it once was. We all understand that. Anyway, the report came to the conclusion based on attendance records per capita during NFL's team's worst seasons, using data dating back to 2008 to determine which fans stand by their team the most, even when they're not winning. So to me, that's where this data is flawed, because if you're going off of attendance at the stadium, all of the attending fans aren't necessarily fans of the team that calls that stadium home. And we know we have the most transient stadium probably in the NFL, it feels like, because of where it's located. And we're never any good. So the other team that's coming to town usually has a core fan base that lives in DC. And, oh, by the way, if you're looking for a cheap ticket, Commanders fans are getting out of Dodge. They're selling tickets. You can get into the building, et cetera, et cetera. So this is somewhat flawed, but I don't care. Right now, I don't care, okay? So here's the top 10 list that they found in their studies based off of the research that they did. This was an article from 2022, by the way. So this was printed last year, hence the first paragraph talking about congressional investigations, lawsuits, and the team being sold. This was from November of last year. So anyway, top 10 most devoted fans, we're at the very top. We've had enough bad seasons for them to be able to say, hey, they're still showing up. Again, it's a bit flawed, but still, we take a beating and we continue to support anyway. I don't know of how many fan bases have fans as loyal as ours. Look, it's a madhouse within the fan base. You got people saying all kinds of crazy shit We don't know if we're coming or going as a fan base. We've been beat up so badly that it's crazy, man. We have so much PTSD as a fan base. You can't get us to agree on just about anything. The only thing that most of us would agree on is we would love to go back to Redskins. And there's still a portion of the fan base is like, that name is racist and you can't go back to Redskins. So we can't even agree on that. Anyway, we're still a devoted fan base. I will say, boy, we've been through a shit ton. And I don't think many fan bases in the NFL could actually withstand the shit that we've gone through over the last 25 years. I don't know of many fan bases that could stand up and say, hey, man, we could have done that. 49ers are second. The Patriots are third. The Colts are fourth. Ravens are fifth. Dolphins sixth. Denver Broncos seventh. Bears are eight. Eagles are 9. And the Panthers are 10. So, again, this list is crazy because the same company did another study that shared the top 10 fakest NFL fans. So, some of these teams overlap, which is crazy because you can't be devoted and have fake fans at the same time. At least I don't think. Those two are almost the opposite of one another, right? But I guess it's a slightly like it's not a synonym or antonym rather, right? But I don't consider devoted fans to be fake, right? So the Patriots are third on that list and they're third on this list. Like, how does that work? I will say this. Despite only winning 3 games in the 2013-14 season and the 2019-2020 season, fans still came out to support the Commanders. According to the report, the average attendance during the team's 5 worst performing seasons was more than 76,000. So they're basing it off of attendance. Again, that's a flawed metric to base your study off of. Flawed. Very flawed. I just like the part that says we're devoted because we are. The ones that are here are devoted. That said, I do think that this list, the fakest top 10 teams, I do think the fakest fans is somewhat accurate. Dallas, we all know there are a lot of fair weather. They're in the more fair weather fan base probably in sports than the damn Dallas Cowboys. You know, that's as fair weather as it gets. Hell, my wife, when I met her, was a Cowboys fan. I converted her to a Commanders fan. That's how fair weather and flaky the shit is, okay? Cowboys fans, they blow with the damn wind. Okay? So we know they're fake as hell. All right, number 2, the Rams. Any team in LA doesn't stand a chance. And I'll just take it a step further. They relocated. You can't relocate and think you're going to keep your core base of fans. It doesn't work that way. You're going to lose a lot of fans. I know a fan that was a fan of the team when they were in St. Louis. He's now a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. You know him too. His name's Cubone. He was a devout Rams fan. He lives in Missouri. Supported the team when they were in St. Louis. They relocated to LA. To hell with them. He became a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. You relocate, you're going to lose a portion of your fan base. They're not going to make the move with you. So the Rams, the Chargers at 4, the Raiders at 5, all relocating teams. So it makes sense, right? Number 3, the Patriots. Name a Patriots fan before Tom Brady showed up. You can't. Number 6, name a Buccaneers fan before Tom Brady showed up. I can name 1 or 2. There aren't many. Okay. There weren't many, right? Dolphins fans. I've seen their stadium, even when they're really good, a lot of empty seats. There's a lot to do in Miami. There's a lot to do in Miami. I'll just say that. Giants, that one is interesting. I don't know if I feel like Giants fans are fake. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. You know what? A lot of them came out of the woodwork. They were like roaches. I turned on the light by talking shit. They scattered, right? They beat us and shit got dark for us and they all came out. I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's not. Niners, I could see that. When the Niners are good, they're up. Their fans are everywhere. When they're down, I don't hear anything, a peep out of 49ers fans. They go to sleep. So maybe. And then, look, as a fan of a team who's constantly getting their asses kicked, what are you going to say when your team sucks? What is there to say? So I don't know. And then the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, it's the Arizona Cardinals. And they've relocated 15 different times. So I get it. I just thought I'd share that with you. I had that in my back pocket for a while here. I just know that it's been rough, but as I've tried to continue to hammer home, change is coming. You've hung in this long. It's been tough. I know you're tired of losing. Me too. I get it, but change is coming. Continue to hang in there, because if we get this right, this is the opportunity we've been waiting on. New ownership that we didn't think was coming. We got a quarterback. We haven't had one of those since Kirk Cousins. You didn't love him. You didn't embrace him. So if you're not going to count Kirk Cousins, you got to go back to Robert Griffin III. That was 1 year, right? It was 1 year. So you go back past him, you got to go all the way back to Mark Rippon, right? Like, this is what we've dealt with. We got a quarterback. We got new ownership. We got a bunch of draft capital. We got a bunch of cap space. We're going to finally get a GM. When's the last time we had a GM? Charlie Casserly? That's the late 90s. Most of you weren't even fans then. We're actually going to have a GM. Let all of this sink in. Change is coming, and we're going to have a chance to compete with the big boys and the big dog. We got a chance to stomp with the big dogs. I like where this is heading. I know this has been a disappointing season. It's hard being a fan of this team. I know. Trust me. I've been there every step of the way. But we're going to get to that mountaintop. I can't promise you when, but if we get this right, and it's a big if. It's a big if, I know. But if we get this right, I'm telling you guys, we're going to have a chance to really wreck some shit. We've come close against the Eagles twice this season. They're the best the league has to offer right now. We took them to the limit twice. I get it, it's family business, but no, not everybody is pushing the Eagles like we did. They didn't just barely beat us. We were up big in both games, double digits, both times. Both times we were up double digits. We weren't just playing well against the Eagles. We were dominating them in the first half of both of the games. We get better coaching. We get better personnel. We get better front office personnel, who then gets us better players on the field. This could turn around quickly. I look at Detroit. I look at Houston. I look at teams that are well coached, with young coaches, with vibrant personalities who get it. And I think to myself, we are literally the right GM and the right head coach away from turning this thing around so fast it'll make your damn head spin. Then we're going to be knocking teams out like Mike Tyson. This is going to be a huge offseason. It's hard being a fan of this team. But change is coming. Just make sure you're ready to embrace change, whether you agree with it or not. Just give it a chance. Whether you like the name or not, whether you like the GM or not, whether you like the coach or not, give it a chance. Hell, they could hire Belichick. I would hate it. What are you going to do? Right? I don't want him here. But if that's the direction they go in, I'm willing to give it a shot. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to, in other news, where we heard from the head coach, Ronald Rivera. Don't know what he said. Didn't watch his presser. Also heard from the QB, Sam Howell. We'll get to what he had to say today. But before we do that, we got a quick turnaround. As you all know, got a game on Thursday. So with that said, we've already taken a look at the injury report once this week. We're going to take a look at it for the second time, and they actually had practice today. So let's take a look at what it looks like for both squads. First, we start with Washington, the good guys. And as you can see, a lot of DMPs here, right? This is what a short week does to you. Alex Armour isn't going to play. We already know that. Same thing could be said for James Smith-Williams. Those guys, in my mind, are almost like they're on IR. I don't expect them back until post-bye, right? They won't play next week against the Dolphins either. I think the first time that those guys enter back into the equation is week 15 after the bye against the Rams. So Forbes is the one that I told you is the most concerning to me. He did not practice again today. If he does not practice tomorrow, then you have to assume he's out of this game. And we'll find out tomorrow. They'll give us game statuses for many of these players tomorrow. Dejon Harris, quad, not really too concerned. He's a special teams player. We'll just find another guy to come up and play special teams. Khaleke Hudson wasn't on the injury report yesterday. All of a sudden, he's on it today with a back injury. That's not good, because we need Khaleke. Even though we're getting one of our linebackers back, talk about that in a second. We talked about it yesterday, actually. But Cody Barton activated from IR, or will be activated for the game on Thursday. He had his 21-day window activated yesterday, and Ronald said today that he will be active and playing on Thursday. So there's that. And the only reason I know Ronald said that is because the reporters reported it. Okay, I didn't watch. I promise I didn't watch. Antonio Gibson, toe limited. I think he's going to give it a go this week. I'm actually not surprised. Remember, I told you guys last week that his toe injury seemed like it was trending in the direction of Curtis. Remember, Curtis missed one game and then was back. Seems like that's where Antonio's trending. Still keeping a watchful eye on him, though. And, Curtis had 2 full weeks, right? Missed a game, and then the next week he had a full week to ramp up and then play. He's having an abbreviated week here on a Thursday, so he still may not be quite ready yet. So keep your eye on Antonio. We missed him greatly last week because, everybody likes to talk about Antonio fumbling. Well, every back on the roster except for Gore, who came in and had the stinkiest one carry in the red zone last week, everybody fumbled. So I'd love to see Antonio Gibson get back because, again, you take Gibson away from the running back room, we got no explosiveness whatsoever. And I love it, and I love Brian Robinson, and he's got a little kick to him. And I told you, he's faster than you think, but he's not a true home run threat, But he's not slow, but he's not fast either. Gibson is, but I don't know how fast he's going to be with the toe injury. Just keep an eye on him. Quan Martin, limited both days with the shoulder injury. So keep an eye on him. Remember, we had so many injuries in the game against the Giants. He was one of them. So was Emmanuel Forbes. Obviously, Obata went down. And I was like, man, we got a mass unit here defensively. Cody Barton coming back. We talked about that already. So he'll be back on the field. Cosme was limited with the chest injury. He's back full. Curtis Samuel full with the toe, and F.A. has been put on IR. Washington went out and signed a defensive end off of the Bears practice squad. Jalen Harris is his name. I never heard of him. Don't know him. So he will be on our roster to give us an extra body on special teams. Don't read too much into it. So that's the injury report right now. Forbes and Forbes, Khaleke Hudson being added, and Antonio Gibson are the 3 guys that I'm really kind of, I think Quan Martin's going to be fine. I'm not really too concerned about Quan Martin, really. But Gibson, Khalil Hudson, and Emmanuel Forbes are the three guys, especially Forbes. We need him desperately in this particular game, are the ones that I'm really, really targeting and saying, hey, it'd be really nice if you can play in this game. Meanwhile, you get to the Dallas side of things in this game. And I told you there's not going to be any major injuries for the Cowboys other than potentially J-Ron Curse. We talked about this yesterday. Rico Dowdle and J-Ron Curse were the two guys that we might have a shot of having them miss this game. So as you can see, Rico Dowdle did not practice for a second day in a row. So again, keep your eye on that. If he can't go, all the onus is then put on their starting running back, Tony Pollard, because Dowdle has been playing really well of late. Gallup added to the injury report for personal reasons, not injury related. That means he's going to play on Thursday unless something really catastrophic happened. But he hasn't been a major factor for the Cowboys this season. Anyway, he's more of an afterthought at this point. Peyton Hendershot, full. He's going to go. He was full on Monday, full again Tuesday. He'll be playing on Thursday. J-Ron Curse back, did not practice again today. Keep an eye on him. He's a really good player for them on that defense. So those are the two guys, Rico Dowdle and J-Ron Curse. Everybody else, I fully expect them to play. CeeDee Lamb was limited early in the week. I told you he's going to go. Full participant today. No need to even consider him. Osa Odigizua, same thing. He's been full all week. He's going to play. Tyron Smith was added due to rest, so clearly he's good to go. Terrence Steele, limited initially. He's full. He's good to go. And Kavontae Turpin was full already to begin with. Full again today. He's going to be good to go. So really, only two guys for the Cowboys that are concerning for them right now. Backup running back Rico Dowdle and starting safety J-Ron Curse. So not a lot to see here for Dallas. They'll be pretty much ready to go on Thursday against our Commanders. So let's quickly get into what was said at the podium by Sam today. First and foremost, Sam clearly lost a bet to one of his teammates. I'm trying to think who on the team went to Clemson that would have bet him that he had to wear a sweatshirt, for losing. Because, Carolina and Clemson played over the weekend. And, of course, Clemson not only won, they beat the brakes off of Carolina. So Sam clearly had to wear a sweatshirt, a Clemson sweatshirt, because of the lost bet. I was shocked that nobody asked him about it or made fun of it. And, because if you really want him to laugh and joke, that was the easiest way to do it. Maybe they did it before the presser started and then they said, all right, let's get to business. This is a 4-17. Nobody wants to be hearing players keep keying at the mic. But I wouldn't have minded if somebody would have brought it up. Anyway, I'm really curious as to who went to Clemson. I'm trying to think, like, what Clemson Tiger on the team would have bet him. I can't even think of anybody that went to Clemson that's any good on the team. I can't. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Oh, KJ Henry. KJ Henry. I knew it had to be somebody young too. KJ Henry went to Clemson. I was like, who the hell could it be? It's KJ Henry. KJ Henry. That's my guess. It's got to be KJ Henry. We don't have too many Clemson Tigers on the roster. Anyway, Sam's such a laid back dude, man, and of course they asked him the question about the coaching staff and with all the losses, and Ronald looks to be on the ropes, and how is it affecting the team? Is that something that affects them? Do they hear the noise? And he's like, look, we know what kind of a business that we're in. It's a results-based business. If you don't get it done, there are consequences, essentially, is what he said. And I'm paraphrasing. And so we know what it is, but we can't focus on that. We got a game this week. It's a quick turnaround. So our focus immediately turned to the Cowboys, and we're trying to get a win. And I love that Sam continues to say this over and over again, because I need them to understand that you're losing the teams that you should beat, that we are better than. And he said, we lost a game on Sunday to a team that we felt we should have beat, that we were better than. And, that's the second time we've lost to them this season, and we felt like we should have won both of those games. So we got to start finding a way to get it done. We can't keep talking about being better than teams but not beating them. We got to find a way to play better. And he's like, it starts with me. I can't be turning the ball over 3 times. I got to make better decisions, and I got to be better, right? You know, we can't turn over as many times as we turn it over and expect to win. And so all of this stuff rings true. We already know all of this stuff, you know, and then in critiquing his performance in particular, you know, he went through every one of the interceptions. And, you know, the last one, he's just like, look, I just didn't get it out of bounds. I got to get it out of bounds. The second one, they tried to bait him in, and I wouldn't have minded if he would have said this, but they one of the questions tried to bait him essentially into saying, hey, I was playing hero ball. I can't make that, you know, decision. Because the second one felt like hero ball, the one where he rolls out to his right on 3rd down and like 11, and he sees Jahan Dotson uncovering on the scramble drill, and he tries to get it to him, and as he's throwing it, his arm gets hit. And I was talking to a buddy of mine because this was his first time really watching Sam Howell. I had been hyping up Sam all offseason. The last time me and him got up, I had a Sam Howell hat on. He was like, remember when LB said, is that a Sam Howell hat? He said the same thing to me. Is that a Sam Howell hat? I'm like, you damn right it is, right? And so this was his first time sitting and watching Sam Howell, and he called me, and we talked, and he was like, yo, what did you see? He asked me what I saw. Now, you know, told him this wasn't one of Sam's better games. He didn't play well in particular, and he stopped me right there. He's like, well, look, I'm going to just tell you right now, he ain't have a lot of damn help. What I saw was a dude that looks legit. He's got all the, you know, tools you need. Offensive line was trash. Guys were dropping passes. And, you know, so we started talking, and I told him the second pick felt like hero ball. Because I said I wasn't mad that he threw the pick. I was mad that he attempted the pass because of what it could have done. Sam got hit on that play. And, you know, I view Sam as the future of the quarterback position for this franchise. So I don't want him putting himself in compromising positions. When you're throwing the football like that with 2 defenders bearing down on you, anything could happen. He could have hit his thumb on the helmet and broke his finger. He could have, that guy hit his arm as he was throwing. When you get hit like that and your shit recoils backwards, you could tear your bicep, you could tear your tricep, you could tear your pec. How many times did we see Brian Orakpo tear his pec muscle like that? He's running in one direction, he reaches his arm out, somebody hits him at full speed and tears his pec muscle. He did that at least twice in Washington, right? So all of these things are running through my mind. I'm like, Sam, you can't do that. You can't put yourself in that position. We need you. We need you. So I was more disappointed that he even risked that throw. The risk wasn't worth the reward. But in his mind, I'm trying to make a play for my team. And even at the podium today, he was like, I didn't hate the decision. I just hated that I got hit while I was throwing, because he's like, I thought we were going to have a completion. And Jahan uncovered. But, you know, he's like, I got hit and it ended up getting picked off. I hate that it got hit. And then he said, the first one to Diami, I got to throw a better ball. You know, I got to give Diami a better shot at catching that thing. And he's right. It just wasn't a good throw. You know, they got the look. My thing is, why do we keep seeing 2 receivers in the same vicinity? That's the shit that continues to irk me. The catch to Jahan against New England, Terry's right there. There's no reason Terry should be right next to Jahan on that play, right? Like, why do we keep seeing multiple guys in the same area? This shit is mind-boggling 11 weeks in, okay? That's some 4 or 5 weeks shit in. Okay, I get it. We're now double-digit weeks in. We've played 11 games. We still shouldn't be seeing the same shit happening. Anyway, he talked about ball distribution in this offense, and I've been standing. I hate the way he asks questions, but he asks good questions. He asks questions like he's nervous all the time, right? Like, Ben, just relax and ask the question, bro. You know, it could have easily just said, Terry and Jahan's numbers are down. You've got a bunch of passes, which is what he said, but he said it in a way where he's kind of like leading you towards the answer. Don't give them an answer. Let them answer, right? And he does that all the time. But I got the gist of the question, and I wanted to see how Sam responded. But his question essentially was, hey, look, man, you're at the top of the leaderboard in passing attempts this season. You've thrown it a ton, right? You've completed a ton. You're almost at 70% completion percentage. So it's not like you're not completing passes. Yet, your best receiver and the guy that we perceive to be the second best receiver and who was supposed to be having a breakout season aren't having one isn't having a breakout season and the other is almost non-existent in the offense, to the point where we got rookies calling him out, asking did he even play. Terry doesn't even have a 90-plus yard performance under his belt this season. All right. Jahan has been invisible in more games than not this season. What is the reasoning behind that? And that's more of a question for EB, to be honest with you, because Sam's job is to run the play as it's called and to go through his progressions and get the football to the guy that's open. And if Terry on that particular play is his third read and the first read is open, Terry's not getting the ball. If Terry's his third read and he gets to the second read and he's open, Terry's not getting the ball, right? If Terry's the first read and Terry doesn't get off the line of scrimmage or whatever the case may be, he comes off of it quickly, you move on, right? Whatever the case may be, Terry's not getting enough opportunities, neither is Jahan. And his response was, we do play in an offense where the ball is spread around, and, you go through your reads and you get the ball to the open receiver. But I do understand that we got to get these guys more opportunities. And he said, that's on me. That's on, EB as the play caller. That's on all of us to make sure we're getting our best players, our playmakers of football. Ding, ding, ding. But talk is cheap. And EB doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to make the adjustment. Like we're 11 games in. This isn't the first time that this has been brought up. EB has had to answer that question 3 or 4 times. And then he usually goes into some bullshit ass spiel about, what I really appreciate? I appreciate that these guys go out and work hard. We didn't ask you about anybody working hard. We asked you, why isn't Terry getting more targets and why isn't Jahan being featured more? That's what we asked you. We didn't ask you about guys working hard, guys being selfless. I didn't ask you about that. Okay? Because we don't have guys that are super selfish. We don't have guys that are boisterous, that's going to be demonstrative on the sideline like A.J. Brown. But maybe they need to be. Because this shit's getting out of hand now, right? Like, this is bullshit. And really, it's on the play caller. I mean, Sam could try to force it to him, but if his read and progression doesn't take him there, I'm not going to ask him to go out of his way. I need EB to draw up plays where Terry or Jahan are the primary read. I need him to put them in positions. If they're struggling to say, get off of press coverage at the line of scrimmage, put them in motion, put them in stacks and bunches, right? Put them in situations where they can get open without having to struggle, right? There are ways that you can do that. So, that stuff is old to me, but Sam can only do what he can do, right? Maybe there are opportunities where he could pick a side of the field and he just isn't picking the side that Terry's on, right? Because often we'll see Terry's open, but he's not working that side of the field for whatever reason. And maybe he needs to make a more concerted effort to find Terry, right? Look at the coverage. Okay, with the route Terry's running, he's supposed to be the third read, but Terry's my guy, so I'm gonna give him a look-see first. If he gets open early, I'm gonna work him. If not, I'm gonna go back to where I'm supposed to be, right? Maybe he needs to do a little bit more of that, but whatever the case may be, it ain't enough. And he acknowledged that, but he's acknowledged that before, and shit ain't really changing. So I put that on EB, where you got to say, hey, I'm gonna call some plays. Like every week, there should be 8 to 12 plays where this is a package for Terry where he's the primary read on this play. Let's get him the rock. You know what I'm saying? Same with Jahan. You should have a package of plays. Hey, let's get one involved right here. All right, we're going to call a couple of plays where one is the main target on this play. I don't think he's doing that. He's just calling plays, bro. So, Sam talked about that. He talked about, look, it's a good Dallas Cowboys team. Played them last year. It's the same defense. They're well coached. Dan Quinn does a hell of a job. But we got a different offense. We prepared different. Last time I had a lot of time. This time, condensed week. It's going to be tough, but we welcome the challenge. We look forward to going there and trying to get a win. So we'll see how it goes. if I were a betting man, I'd say nothing's going to change, right? Let's go ahead and we're going to skip our first look because we don't really have time for that this week. We're just going to go straight behind enemy lines this week and talk about this game on Thanksgiving Day, Washington versus Dallas. So the first thing that jumps out at you, Washington, they're 11-point underdogs in this game. Ouch. Okay. Ouch. That hurts. We deserve it. Okay. But the last time we were 11-point dogs on primetime television on the road against a divisional opponent, you know what happened. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen this time, but I'm just telling you there is precedence that has been set, and this is not uncharted territory for us. Now, with that said, I'm just going to tell you right now, I got this eerie feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I generally don't get this, okay? We suck ass. And I've been begging all week to the football gods, to Law, to my dad, to anybody like, hey, just take it easy on us, man. We don't want any smoke. Please, don't embarrass us. Hey, look, you want the win, take it. It's almost like we're being robbed. Hey, look, man. Look, the register's open. Take whatever you need. Just don't hurt me, okay? I'm at that point now. Look, it's Thanksgiving Day. I'm with family. I got my son here. He's a young, impressionable Commanders fan. Look, just don't embarrass me in front of my kid, man. Please. All right, take whatever you want. You want to win? Here, win. Just don't embarrass me. My kid's watching, okay? I've done enough of that this week, but it actually feels weird. Like the same feeling I had in week 4, slightly different because that came from a place of confidence. When we went, after getting our ass reamed by the Bills at home, we went on the road to Philadelphia, and I told you that week we were going to win. I was adamant we were going to win. And we didn't win, but we had our opportunities to win that game. I'm not telling you that I think we're going to win demonstratively, but I don't know why I feel the way that I feel right now. This is feeling real Philadelphia Eagle-ish from last season, week 10. That's how I'm feeling right now. Nobody's giving us a chance, and they shouldn't after the mess we saw last week. Different set of circumstances. I know. Last year when we beat the Philadelphia Eagles, we were playing good football. We had just lost to the Vikings the week before in heartbreaking fashion, but the 3 weeks prior to that, we had won 3 in a row. So this is not last year's team, and the vibes aren't the same. But what does remain the same is we're 11-point dogs on the road against a divisional opponent on primetime television, and nobody's giving us a shot. And it's easy for Dallas to overlook us. So anyway, I don't know why I feel the way I feel. I can tell you this. I've watched the Cowboys the last 2 weeks, and they've gotten off to pretty slow starts against bad teams. The Giants 2 weeks ago, that was a 7-0 game, I think, after the first quarter. It might have been 0-0. Like, let me see what the score was. I just remember the Cowboys picked Dak off in the first quarter. They went for it on 4th down. They didn't get it. And that game was a lot closer than it was supposed to be early on. And then Dallas exerted their will on a bad team and eventually ran away and hid with that ball game. But it was a lot closer than you would think for a game that ended up 49-17. It was 7-0 after the first quarter. Same thing with the Panthers game. That was a 7-0 game after one. And it was 10-3, the Panthers game was. 10-3 with about a minute left in the second quarter. They kicked a field goal to cut it to 10-3, and then they gave up a touchdown right before the half. Like a couple of bad penalties, a couple of big explosives. The next thing you know, Cowboys are knocking on the door, and Dak finds CeeDee Lamb, and that was pretty much all she wrote. That broke their back. It was 17-3, and then they just ran away and hid. Pick 6, all of that good stuff, 33-10, right? But at the end of the day, they let bad teams hang around. They've lost to Arizona this season. What I'm telling you is they're very good, but they're not superhuman. Okay. If you don't turn it over, and I know, we just turned it over 6 times. I'm aware. But this is an even week. All right. This is an even week. And we don't play poor football on even weeks. I've already laid that out for you. And the last time we had a shit show of a performance at home where we turned it over as many times as we did against the damn Giants last week, week 3 against the Bills, the following week on the road against a divisional opponent where we were underdogs, big, heavy underdogs. We went out on the road and we had a hell of a showing, albeit a loss, in overtime to the Philadelphia Eagles, 34-31. So a lot is going on in my mind, and I could just be trying to hype myself up only for a massive disappointment. But I don't know why I feel the way that I feel. I feel a lot more confident about this game than I should, based off of what I've watched this season with this team in particular, but just off of last week's performance. This isn't the same team from week 4 when we still had Chase Young and Montez Sweat. This isn't the same team from week 4 when we were starting the season off 2-0 and we were feeling good about this offense. This is a totally different team now, 8 weeks later after that game. We don't have Montez Sweat and Chase Young. This defense isn't any good. There's so many reasons why this is faulty logic that I'm giving you, and we're going to get our asses kicked. But I'm telling you, this shit never makes any sense. It just doesn't. When you win games in the division, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. That win against Philadelphia, that shit didn't make sense. Sometimes when we win games, it just doesn't make sense. Sometimes when teams in the league win games, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to try to make any sense of this. I'm just going to tell you that while the Cowboys are 7-3, they play probably the best complementary football of any team in the league. Offense, defense, special teams, all joining in on the fun and all doing their part to help the Cowboys be 7-3. Not one of those units are dominant per se. The defense is good. Don't get me wrong, really good. But dominant is a strong word, and I would not use it on Dallas. Their offense is good, not dominant though. Special teams is probably the closest you'll get to dominance on their team, honestly. Well coached, dynamic return man, excellent field goal kicker this year and a rookie, and they're very creative on special teams. If you get caught slipping, they'll take advantage of it. They'll fake a punt, they'll fake a field goal. This is the week where you got to be on your P's and Q's, Y's and Z's, because they'll take advantage of some sloppiness. So we're going to have to play sound football. I'm just telling you, this feels weird. My stomach feels weird, and I don't get this feeling very often. I've only had it once this season, and that was the first Eagles game. And that was in a very similar spot to where we are now. Poor performance, at home, more than 4 turnovers in the game. You look like ass, and everybody starts to doubt you. Well, we're past the doubting phase. We suck. Vegas has spoken. Nobody's paying attention to us. This is when we play our best football, by the way. You guys know this. You've been fans of this team long enough to know. When there are no expectations, we're at our best. Last week, we had massive expectations. Vegas told us we were 7 to 8 points better, 9 points at one point, almost 10 points better than the Giants. That line started at 10.5 and somehow whittled its way down to roughly 7.5, 8 points. Still, I told you, I'm a little nervous about that. That means we're supposed to win. And when we're supposed to win, when we have expectations, shit usually goes sideways. Well, this week we're 11-point dogs. There are no expectations. We suck ass, and we're just happy to be here. That's when we usually show up and play our best ball. We'll see what happens, man. I just know that this Dallas Cowboys offensive line is good. It's not great. This Dallas Cowboys rushing attack, it's good. It's not great. CeeDee Lamb is on a torrid pace right now. He's kicking ass. If we don't clean up some things on the back end, he'll have another strong day against us. Okay? Don't let the 9 sacks fool you from last week. We don't get pressure on the quarterback. That scares me. That worries me. But Dak is always fond of giving you a shot. He'll usually toss you one, right? He'll give you a chance. If we're looking for one, he'll give us an opportunity to get one. But if we have breakdowns in coverage like we always do, somebody's running wide ass open, he'll find that too. Hell, if Tommy DeVito can find it, I think Dak Prescott can too. So anyway, we'll talk more about this tomorrow as we get prepared for the game. But anyway, let's get to social media maneuvers. I'm a midnight marauder. Y'all know what it is. Appreciate y'all kicking it with the kid. It's tough. I know. As I said earlier in the show, it's hard, right? We'll get through these super chats and then open up the phone lines briefly. We won't be here too long, but we'll get in and out, right? So let Sam cook. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Let Sam cook writes, Lou, what up? What's going on with you? Says, people out here talking crazy about Sam. I know you don't be paying attention to these shows and radio stuff. I want to pull up and be like, yo, he's played 12 games. Best QB in Washington in years. Again, I don't listen to that stuff, man. I don't try to get caught up in that. I know what my eyes have seen, right? It hasn't always been consistent, but like you said, he's played in 12 games. Mistakes are going to happen, but there's been way more good than bad. We've seen him come up in the biggest of moments. That was the first time this past week against the Giants was the first time where he didn't come up big. Even the first Giants game where that pass was slightly behind Jahan. Jahan still should have caught the goddamn football, right? Still should have caught it. That was the first time where he just absolutely failed in a big time situation. And I thought they failed him first. Charles Leno with the false start crushed us because it took away any opportunity to work the middle of the football field, essentially. That false start, De'Ami Brown with the drop before the Charles Leno penalty, like, what are y'all trying to make sure we lose? Are you trying to sabotage this drive? Like, before he let us down, they let him down. It's crazy out here in these streets, man. Don't get caught up. Every hallway got some crack in it. Don't get trapped in it. It's a lot of clowns out here, man. Lorenzo Simpson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Zoe writes, had to catch myself. Saw Shaq Leonard was released and said we should get him before I came to my senses. Why did grandma make me love this team? First of all, Shaq Leonard is going to clear waivers, and he should because he signed a very lucrative contract. And if you put in a waiver claim for him, you're going to inherit that contract. The Colts are hoping, which is why they cut him and released him. They're hoping, they're praying that somebody claims him off waivers and takes that contract off their hands. It's not going to happen. And they're going to be on the hook for whatever guarantees are left in that deal. And they're just willing. I guess he was complaining and they just are willing to take the L. Like, okay, you're not a part of this thing moving forward. And we don't want to hear you bitching and complaining about playing time. And apparently he's not the same linebacker anymore. And I remember saying to myself, watching them over in Germany against, it might have been London against the Patriots. I remember saying, I think it was Germany. It was the last game in the international series. It was Germany. I remember saying, damn, Shaq Leonard ass ain't on the field at all. I saw a lot of EJ Speed and, all these different dudes. I'm like, damn, Shaq Leonard barely getting on the field. That's because they don't believe in him anymore. He went from being one of the leaders of that team to a guy that just hasn't been able to stay healthy to a guy that they just don't even think is capable of getting it done on the field anymore. So he'll clear waivers and then he'll get to choose where he wants to go. He's not choosing Washington. And honestly speaking, what does this guy actually have left? If the team that drafted him, that gave him all that money, is looking at him every day and they determine that he's not any good anymore, what does that say about who he is as a player right now? Again, his career is better than any linebacker we have on our roster, but that's his best football may be behind him. So anyway, I don't know why your grandma made you love this team. All of us, most of us have stories about somebody forcing this team upon you But your grandma, she didn't see this iteration of this squad. When she loved this team, they were winning and winning big. So it was different, man. She saw a team that stood for something, that always outcoached the opposition, out-physicaled, outsmarted the opposition. Your grandma wouldn't have made you love this team if she would have seen the shit that we've gone through. She'd say, baby, don't love them. You should root for them over there. And whoever that is over there, I don't know. But it wouldn't have been this team over here. But God bless your grandma. She saw some winning football. So there's that. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris, thank you for the support as always. My guy, Chris, writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? Hope all is well with you and the fam. Likewise, man. Again, thank you for your generosity. Can't thank you enough, Chris, man. Really do appreciate you. And happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Curious your thoughts. Seems we have multiple plays on offense where more than one receiver seems to be in the same area. Yeah, we do. Why? I wish I had the answer. I'm asking the question. And I want somebody to ask EB the question. Like, bro, we got a lot of games, you know, and we can cite two in particular that happened in the last 3 weeks. The Jahan touchdown and the Diami pick. Like, why do we keep having receivers right in the same vicinity with each other? What are we doing? Why is the spacing so poor? It's been this way all season long. Somebody talk to me. Tell me why this is occurring. Who's effing up? Or is this poor spacing a byproduct of your play calling? Like, are you guys not coaching this correctly? Like, this has got to be like granular detail stuff. Somebody's supposed to be running their route at a certain depth and they're not. Somebody's getting rerouted. You know, what's going on? Talk to me. Because this shit is it's infuriating at this point. If not mind-boggling at the least. Says, how are we guarding Lamb in this game? How about Ben Johnson as our head coach? I don't know how we're going to guard Lamb because he moves all over the field outside as the X. You know, the other side as a flanker is the Z. He's in the slot. He moves around. You don't know where he's going to be. I don't know how we're going to guard him, but we better have a plan because right now he is their offense. And if you can't stop him, if you can't at least slow him down, you're not going to have a shot in this game. We give up too many explosives. You give them up to CeeDee Lamb and company, you're gonna give up touchdown. As far as Ben Johnson being a head coach, I love that him and Sam had an interaction at the Senior Bowl. There's a little bit of working history there because of that week that they spent together at the Senior Bowl. But I don't know, and again, I can't say what Sam can or can't do. I just know watching Sam at UNC for 3 years, strictly gun, right? That's all they ran was gun. You come to the NFL, Scott Turner runs a gun-based offense. You go to his second year, and all we pretty much run is gun. Now, he's been under the center a little bit more of late. EB has adjusted and got him under center a little bit more, but this is a gun-based offense. Has been, continues to be. So Ben Johnson isn't gun-based. He's under center. If you watch the Detroit Lions, you watch Jared Goff, a lot of under center runs, a lot of physical football, a lot of play action fake from under center, heavy play action fake, a lot of working the intermediate routes over the field. Footwork has to be phenomenal. Ball has to be out, and all that shit has to align for the play to be executed in the way that it's supposed to. I don't know if Sam's comfortable enough to perform in that kind of a system consistently because he's never really been asked to do that. So while we love Ben Johnson and his creativity and what he's done in Detroit the last 2 years, I don't know if he's a great fit for Sam Howell as a quarterback, to be honest with you. Like, certain schemes fit certain quarterbacks better than others. Sam, to me, is a guy that's supposed to be working out of the gun. Now, can Sam adjust and adapt and be an under center quarterback? Maybe. I just don't have any proof of him doing that consistently yet. So it's hard for me to say that he can because I haven't really seen it, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I digress. I'm gonna open up the phone lines for about 20, 30 minutes or so. We're not gonna be here too much longer. I'm not gonna hold y'all. It's getting late, and I ain't gonna try to hoard your time. But phone lines are open officially. 5 minutes. Y'all know the rules. Calls are limited to 5 minutes. We'll knock down as many of these as we can, and then we'll get out of here. You know, and if you don't have anything to say, we'll just get out of here. It's a short week. You know, we gotten our ass kicked. You know, and we're out of the playoff race. Don't let the in the hunt category fool you. You saw the graphic the other day. We were at the very bottom at 4-7. We're out of this thing. We suck. So anyway, let's get to it. You're on live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with? Turn your monitor down. I can hear the echo in the background.
Okay, yo, dude, what's up? What's up?
What's going on?
Okay, I just wanted to say in the beginning, I totally agree with you. Being a fan is hard. I'm 22. I started being a fan probably like the year Kirk left.
Okay.
And it's been horrible. It's been horrible. Nothing to root for. But I was gonna say, like, I think thanks to guys, I really do. I think everything about her. I can't stand EP. Not gonna lie. I can't wait for him to. I really hope he goes.
Mm-hmm.
I hate how like we haven't even targeted Taylor Jahan as much as they should be. Like that post, people were saying they want Jahan gone because of EP. People want Jahan gone.
Yeah.
And then I saw other people under that saying they want Terry gone too.
I think the Terry thing is more about like it's. I mean, I'll never understand, like, as much as I try to understand humans are weird. So I'll never really be able to fully understand how the human brain works. But there's this weird thing that fans do where they go, "We don't deserve Terry. He deserves a chance to win. He should go somewhere else." And I'm like, what? That's the dumbest thing ever. Like, so you want us to be worse because you like Terry and you think he should have a chance to win. Like, that's dumb. But people say stupid stuff like that. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that makes no sense. I feel like it's because of EP. I feel like last year we never had these questions with Scott Turner.
Right.
Even though I hate Scott Turner, but like I just hate that that's like the narrative going around right now. Like, we need all these new wide receivers when was that even a thought process before?
I mean, think about what we thought was the strength of the team heading into the season. Was it not the receiver position?
Yeah, literally, exactly.
I mean, to think about where we were just 3 months ago to where we are now speaks to what EB and his philosophical approach has done to the receiver position. Like, we got us a quarterback. That's why the question that Ben Standing asked made so much sense, because you're like, we finally got a quarterback, but the numbers are down for the receivers. Make it make sense. You know, you're throwing the ball at a ridiculous rate, at a ridiculous clip, yet the receivers aren't getting the football. You know, this is crazy. The running backs and the tight ends are getting the ball. You know, and Pringle are getting, you know, is getting targeted, and Jamison Crowder and De'Ami Brown, like everybody that we don't want to get the ball is getting targeted a bunch. You know?
And every week we hear like, Sam Howell thrown to 11 receivers. Like, yeah, that's cool and all, but like, where's Jahan?
Right.
I don't care about 11 receivers.
Right.
And yeah, that's all. I don't want to hold you up, but.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I couldn't agree with you more, man. It's crazy talk.
I appreciate with everything you do. Honestly, you get me through this awfulness. Awful.
Hey,
not fun.
We going through it together, man. I appreciate you, man. You take care of yourself, and happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
All right. I mean, just let that sink in. Let that resonate. The strength of the team when the season started was the receiver position. I still look at it as a strength. Nothing has changed for me. The lack of targets for them, to me, doesn't speak to their abilities. It just speaks to our coordinator not prioritizing his playmakers getting the football. So that bothers me. You know, it really does. It really, truly does. But what can you do, right? Got a super chat here from DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. DJ writes, you might not agree, but I want a nasty defensive-minded head coach. And bring EB back. He might change in a second year of play calling. I don't want to bring EB back for a second because he's not good. What he's shown me in year one is he's not going to change who he is as a play caller. Right? Like I fell into that trap with Scott Turner. Like, oh man, Scott Turner's adjusting, he'll adapt. We would bitch and complain, and then the reporters would go to Scott Turner and they would bring it up to him, and then he would say, well, yeah, when you're in the flow of calling game, you don't really think about, who's getting the football. You just think about, the next play that you're going to call. And I'm like, that's why you garbage right there. Because you thinking at a surface level. You're not thinking beyond like, oh, yo, I got to get, like, you should be going into the game thinking that. You can't fall into the trap of, damn, I'm going to keep calling these plays. You got to be thinking, hey, I got to get my playmakers involved. I got to get touches for my guys, And I've never been a playmaker, so it's easier for me to say, right? But I just know the best play callers in the league get their best players involved. And sometimes you need a reminder, right? The Cowboys weren't getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb at the beginning of the season. CeeDee Lamb went into the office of his offensive coordinator and his head coach and said, hey, I ain't trying to be a prima donna. I just think if y'all need me, I'm here, right? I'm capable. I'm willing. I'm able. Hey, just y'all know where to find me, man. Get at me. Ever since then, he's been tearing shit up. A.J. Brown threw a temper tantrum on the sideline, and ever since then, he was tearing shit up, right? Like, our guys aren't that way. They're not wired that way, but they shouldn't have to do that, right? Like, we keep talking about the same shit. I just don't get it. But wanting a nasty defensive-minded head coach, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but you're going to find yourself in, and I had the title of the video last week towards the end of the week was, I hope Washington has learned from the Bills. And the reason I said that was because they had to fire Ken Dorsey because they have a defensive-minded head coach, and they had Brian Daboll. He was successful. He made beautiful, beautiful music with Josh Allen, had Allen in the MVP conversation, had the Bills in the AFC Championship game. He gets a job with the Giants. They promote Ken Dorsey. They've never been remotely close to what they were with Daboll. You find yourself in a predicament when you have a defensive-minded head coach that you're always going to be looking for that next guy as your coordinator. That's what the Eagles, I think, are going through right now. They had Shane Steichen. He did an excellent job. He gets the head coaching job because that's what happens when you do an incredible job as a coach, as an offensive coordinator and a play caller. Brian Johnson is doing an okay job, but I don't think they're at the pinnacle with the talent that they have. I don't think they're maximizing it. And thus, I don't think they're going to ultimately get to where they want to go. And so that's what happens when you have a coach that is of the defensive-minded variety. I think Nick Sirianni is an offensive-minded guy, if I'm not mistaken, though. But he's not calling the plays. He's delegating that to somebody else. So I just don't want us to find ourselves in that position. You get a nasty defensive-minded coach. He comes in here, rights the ship defensively. You get an offensive coordinator, kicks ass, comes in here, changes everything. We start, bubbling, and all of a sudden he's a hot commodity, and just like that, he's gone. And then what? You're back to where you were again. I just don't want to deal with that if I don't have to. But if they went defensive-minded coach again, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just know what lies ahead. If you go that route, you're going to you want to be good on offense. You don't want to be trash. And if you're good on offense, they're going to come calling. And eventually, if that guy has any aspirations of being a head coach, and if you're not in this business to be a head coach, then what are we doing? What are we talking about? No guy comes in and says, I don't want to get any higher than coordinator in my career. So if he's any good, he's going to go and take a job eventually. I just want to avoid that if we can. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, I've noticed that basically everywhere other than defense, we will tackle receivers right on the spot. Ours, 10 yards off and allow yards after catch. it's disgusting. Some of that is a mindset, you know. Some defensive calls force the defender to be off, right? Like certain coverages, certain, you know, if you're blitzing, you don't want your guys, you know, at 1 yard off, basically in press technique, because you know that there's a chance that if your guy gets beat immediately off the line of scrimmage, all that quarterback has to do is get the ball, get the laces, and then chuck it deep if your guy gets beat immediately off the line of scrimmage. So you don't want to do that. You rather give up a slant and rally up and tackle when you're coming with all-out pressure than come up, miss a jam, guy runs by you, and the quarterback lets it go, and now it's a 67-yard touchdown. So you have to play off in those situations, right? Unless you got a corner with the ultimate belief in his abilities and he knows he's not getting beat, and so he can come up and challenge and not give up the easy underneath completion. We don't have that. You know, none of our corners are like that. So it's tough. Kendall Fuller, we know he diagnoses things very well, and he comes up and he tackles very well. You know, he's the one guy that kind of does that. Got another call. We're going to go ahead and take that. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
What's going on, Louie? Your boy, Ant, man, from North Carolina.
What's going on, Ant?
Chilling, man. Look, what do you think about, you know, this regime for the new owners getting rid of Jack and Ron and giving EP a chance? Now, the reason why I say this is because, and a lot of us, we harsh on EP right now. You know what I'm saying? But we also got to realize this is his first time, you know, calling plays, as we know of. You know what I'm saying? So I think if y'all going I think they should give him a chance, man, at least for these last few games. And then even if you're not going to bring him back, you know, just give him a chance. You know what I'm saying? Then maybe next year, if you keep him, you know, keep him and Sam together. You know, let them grow together. What you think about that, Lou?
I was all for continuity. I really wanted Sam to not have a third offensive play caller in as many years. But I can't deal with another year of Terry not getting the ball, Jahan not getting the ball, because I don't think that's going to change. I don't think he is like, I don't think this is just like, oh man, it's an oversight, man. Like how Scott Turner used to just be like, well, I didn't think about it, you know? And then the next week, Terry would get 12 targets. Like this is who he is, right? This is what he is as a play caller. He doesn't care about, he's already told us this. Like we can't ignore, like when people tell you things, you can't ignore them, right? He told us this 3 or 4 times when he first, I don't care about stats. I don't give a damn about Terry's numbers. I don't care about John. I care about this team being successful. And if that means Byron Pringle gets 4 targets and Logan Thomas gets 8 targets and De'Ami Brown gets 4 targets and Jamison Crowder gets 3 targets and Jahan gets 1 target and Terry gets 6 targets, that's what it's going to be. And that, to me, that ain't winning football because you're not going to win. You ain't going to win like that. So I struggle with EV because I just think he's stubborn. I don't think he's going to change.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm telling you, man, I've been going to matter of fact, I've been to all the home games this year, right?
Oh, hell. I'm sorry, man. Hey, I'm sorry, bro. I apologize on behalf of all the entire fan base, man. I apologize for you being in all them damn
home games. Look, I'm telling you, man. I seen them win one game, man, and that's when the Arizona Cardinals came to town, man. It's to the point now, man. Shit, we having more fun at the tailgate.
It turned into a college atmosphere. Hey, let's turn up in the parking lot because when the game started, it ain't gonna be shit going well for us.
Hey, that's exactly what it was. This last game, man, against the Giants, man, that was terrible.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So man, I just say something to this game. I don't know what. I don't give a damn what happens. As long as we get something going, man, because I'm tired of losing.
Hey, look, man, we all in the same boat, man. We just want to win, bro. Like I was willing to deal with another year of Ron to win, right? Yeah. Now I see it ain't no light at the end of this tunnel. Like you can't. That's why I'm like, while I was holding on hope for that win streak, maybe we could turn. I don't want Ron here. There's no winning consistently with this dude. Like,
Right.
as bad as I want to win, we gotta get him out of here, man. Like, I can't do this with him no more. He's not the answer, clearly. So, we all want to win, but this is the cost of doing business right now. We got to hit rock bottom again. You know, ownership has to come in and clean house, and then we got to build this thing up the right way. And I think that's what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, man, and I appreciate you, bro, man. Hey, hang in there, and I don't know how many more of these home games you got in you, boy, but but bless your heart, man. I'm praying for you.
Man, I don't let them things go, man. that last game did it for me, man. And I appreciate it, Lou, man.
I don't blame you. Hey, you have a good one, man. Happy Thanksgiving, Ed. Take care.
You too, man.
Hey, Ed said, hey, look, I let them things go, man. See, this is why we won't have no home field advantage, but can you blame Ed? Man, been to what? 5 home games this season? Let's see. Week 1, week number 3, week 5, week 7, no, week 5, week 8, week 11. So 5 home games, you won 1. That's trifling, man. That's nasty. That's some nasty work. You're on live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
This is Josh, a.k.a. Fat American.
Hey, man, what's going on, Fat American?
Hey, what's good, man? What's good? How you doing?
I'm doing well. About yourself?
Doing all right.
Good, man. It's good to hear from you.
So we're talking about life, not about the football year. You know what I'm saying?
I was waiting for you to drop that 05 on me, man.
Well, that's going to come up in the discussion. You already know. Hey. No, but so I actually got a couple of notes here, man, because I don't want to get off topic. I don't want to, have a brain fart and shit. So, yeah, here we go, boss. So I got a couple questions for you. You actually answered my super chat. But, one thing I noticed, and what do you think about this, man, is that I noticed a lot of fans are quick to defend, the defense, individuals like, let's say a quarterback throws a bad ball and Benjamin St. Juste is there. He don't make a play, but the quarterback just made a bad pass, and I'll see fans saying, "Oh, way to be in a great position," and all this and that. And it's like, dude, he didn't even make a play. The quarterback, just threw a bad pass. I've seen a lot of that. I've been seeing a lot of that the past 3-4 years since Jack Del Rio came to the DC. And, fans will get upset and call him out on it and stuff like that. But, I mean, it's too much of that, man. I just see a lot of that going on right now with the fan base. They just don't want to, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but what do you think about that?
So, the thing about, like, a guy like Juice, for instance, is he didn't have a pick in college. That was my gripe. Like, that shows a lack of ball skills, which we've seen here in Washington. Like, half the time he's in great position and he don't look back for the ball, right? And we wonder, damn, how did he not get called for pass interference? Because he literally didn't turn around and locate the ball, right? Ball hit him in his back. Like, I've seen him get hit in the ball in the back with the ball at least 3 times this year, right? And you're like, bro, if you just turn around, it's a pick. But he's always in good enough position to be there, but he's never in good enough position where he probably feels comfortable enough turning around and locating the ball. Because when you're in a trail position, when you're using trail technique, you're in a trail position. If that receiver's on top of you and you're trying to get back into the play, you can't turn and locate the ball. You just got to run. And when that receiver goes to catch it, you go to put your hands up, right? So it's disappointing because this is who he is. We drafted him knowing this is who he was as a football player.
Yeah, and I think, at best he's like a decent corner. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's spectacular.
Right.
I think he's just decent. He's just another, in my opinion, I think he's just another dude. What is he, a 5th round, a 4th round pick or something like that?
Right. I think he was a 3rd round pick.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I think he was in the 3rd round.
All right. Yeah, that's higher than I thought he was. I thought he was a 5th round.
Nah, he was the 3rd round pick. Him and Diami, I think, were both taken in the same round. Both in the 3rd round.
Yeah. And then, so one thing, and the other thing I want to point out was DB. Actually, hey, look, I think the offense looks better than last year, and I think their stats to prove it.
Mm.
There are times where I think EB has he's shown flashes, like what he's capable of, and
right.
I mean, like to be like, damn, maybe he's in his bag, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like everything is just in a rhythm. I think this last game, I know a lot of, I know you were calling for like the play action pass. I would think the offense had a chance to do it because they kept turning the damn ball over. You know what I mean? So I think, and that's just my opinion, though. I mean, I'm not saying it's true or not, but I feel like EB was calling a decent game, and every time they got to a rhythm, they would do something dumb like turn the ball over, so they didn't really have a chance to. Because I think they had like 10 minutes more than the Giants on offense.
I mean, the Giants ran 51 plays. We ran 81 plays. Like that. The question last week wasn't about having a football or opportunities and none of that stuff. The real issue was we didn't get any chunk plays. So everything that we
chunk plays though. I mean, off the run game we did. I mean, in the before the half and then.
Yeah, but that again, those chunk plays, what did they lead to? Like, I mean, we had a drive that like a 14-play drive, and it ate up like 7 minutes, and we had to kick a field goal.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
No, I remember that. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't happy with that, And I noticed that EB kind of. I mean, like, I think B-Rob is kind of like he should be our go-to guy when he gets to the end zone, or actually in goal situations. And it seems like when EB shies away from that, he kind of, we don't score, And I mean, but it's like just hand the ball up to B-Rob, and go to goal situations. I'm almost positive it's gonna be a touchdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, you hit your 5-minute mark though, Fats. So I gotta let you go, man.
One more question.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, call back in and we'll reset the clock. But I'm gonna let you go to see if anybody else wants to get in here, and I got some more supers to hit. So
all right, I'll back in.
All right, I appreciate you. All right. Y'all funny as hell, man. You don't sound fat. Y'all are terrible, man. I can't with y'all. 16 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes. So you're telling me there's a chance. I'm telling you there's a chance. Look, don't listen to me, okay? I've been beat up one too many times as a fan. I'm delusional. That's what they tell me. That's what they call me. And so don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just telling you. I told you we were going to lose against Seattle. I told you it didn't feel like a win. And I told you we would be competitive, but I didn't think we would win. And we didn't, right? I told you we were going to beat the Eagles in week 4, and we did it. But we should have beat them. And we played really well. And you could argue that was our best played game of the season. The 2 Eagles games really felt like the 2 best games that we've played all year. And we didn't win either one of them. What's stopping us from doing that again in this game? I could see that, where we play well and lose again, which I wouldn't be upset about. Personally, I wouldn't care if we that. Look, I just don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be swept by the division, but let's be honest with ourselves. Unless Dallas doesn't need week 18, that's the more likely scenario, is that we get swept by the entire division. Dallas doesn't need week 18. They've already locked up, the wild card. Philadelphia's already run away and hid with the division. And we're probably going to get swept by the division. But we got a shot. That's all you can ask for. We got a shot. Coming up on Thursday. Barry Curtis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Barry Curtis writes, Chris Paul had a Giants Nick Gates type game, LOL. So Chris Paul is turning into what we thought he was. Like, he was an upgrade over Sadiq Charles because of his girth, his size, just sheer physicality and just being a bigger, wider man in general made him a better option because Sam needs stout protection. But we always knew Chris Paul struggled to move his feet. He's a big dude, but he's got heavy feet, and he doesn't have great lateral agility nor quickness. So what we saw in the Seahawks game, what we saw in the Giants game was him getting beat on the interior. And while he's not terrible, there is a flaw there that if you have the right type of interior defensive lineman, or even you run a twist and it's quick enough with the end coming looping around, he might not be able to adjust to that fast enough. Larson hasn't been great either. He's similar in what limits his ability. Slow feet, not a lot of lateral agility or quickness. Big man, though. You're not going to have a great time bull rushing, which was the issue with Gates and Sadiq, is they were both kind of light in the pants, so you could push those guys and collapse the pocket. There was nowhere for Sam to go. At least you can't do that with those two in there. And that's why they're the better option right now. But if we're talking about changing this offensive line around and getting even better, you got to put guys in there that are a little bit more athletic. You watched the game last night. You saw the clinic that Jason Kelce put on. And I get it. Look, he is a unicorn. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Don't want to be comparing guys to him. But you need a combination of quickness, speed, and then power when somebody tries to bull rush you. And we just don't have that. We don't seem to be able to find all of that in one body. Either you got quickness like Sadiq does and athleticism, but you ain't got no power, or you got all of the power like Chris Paul does and Larson does, but you don't have no quickness. You don't have the ability to move your feet. So it's tough. I'll just say that. But anyway, got no calls, got no more supers. So with that said, we will get out of here. I want to thank all of you guys and gals for joining me on the show tonight. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys again. Tomorrow we will be I will have our keys to the game, right? Game plan and the prediction. I will be sending out a link, so I can get a link to share the Bleacher Report video. So I'll have that either tomorrow or Thursday. Just be on the lookout, and I'll make sure I post it all over the place on socials and all. Once I get it, I'll make sure I disperse it to the masses. So I really appreciate all of y'all. Look forward to chopping it up with y'all post game. Y'all know how it is. Y'all know how it goes, and we'll chop it up on Thanksgiving night. Win, lose, or draw, you know where to find me. Anyway, y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. I look forward to chopping it up with y'all. Y'all know what it is. God bless. Good night.